Hi everyone, this week we've got Neil on the show from PayProp. We're going to be talking about transparency, rental reform and collaboration in the industry. Neil, before we do anything useful, can I have a quick introduction from you, please?
So Neil Cobbold, I'm the managing director from PayProp. I'm an avid property professional who is, I would say, quite passionate. Some would say perhaps over passionate about our industry being seen as the professional market that it is, and it's getting its help from the tech to go to that next level in looking after our customers.
Yep. I'd agree with very passionate, my friend. I'd agree with that. So my first question to you is on the transparency side, as we said in the introduction. Easy for me to say. You've been very hot on transparency in lettings. Are you pleased with the recent news regarding more upfront information on property listings, and do you think the changes are far enough in your view?
Well, look, there's always further that can go within transparency. I think the reason I wanted to keep transparency top of people's agenda is I think it's something that can easily get missed. And that uncertainty, that hidden, that does a lot to hinder our trust within the market. And we've done a lot. Always there's more, but in the last kind of 5 years, from where we were seen as an industry to where we are now, I think we have done leaps and bounds. I do think there's more. And I think that viewpoint of to how do people perceive what we're actually providing to them as a service is always a great lens to look at your providers, your own employees, or any new services you bring to the market. Because in today's day and age, I think that needing to raise yourself above the parapet and be clear on everything that you do is not now something that you have to decide whether you want to do it or not. It's a given that you must provide it if you're going to get trust from your customer base.
I would agree with that. It's come on a long way, and I would agree that the trust is important with anything you do. Like in general, it's the reason I feel that people work with anybody is the trust. Without the trust, you don't really have a partnership with whatever you're doing.
Yeah, and we're,
So
we're not transactional in our industry. We're not transactional. So the fact of being able to sell or being able to rent a property, it's not that action that people come for. It's the relationship. And the moment somebody feels something has been hidden, that damages that relationship. So we need
Mhm.
to be over communicating and overly transparent. And then we'll be seen as this professional industry that we are. Let's be honest. We are a
Yep,
professional industry. It's just not always perceived as such.
I'm with you. So my next question on the rental reform. So many landlords and agents are worried about the radical rental reforms announced in the Levelling Up white paper were expected to be fleshed out in the autumn. Are they right to be worried, or will the market benefit in the long term? Some difficult questions for you
Oof.
today, Neil.
Yeah, and that is to will the industry benefit in the long term? Yes. If they get it right, and I suppose that's the big caveat that we put there around the worry, because some of our past experience hasn't led us to believe that perhaps this will be implemented to its best. But if they get it right, the removal of Section 21 is nothing to get worried about. Nobody within our industry wants to evict somebody without a valid reason. What we do have is a need to bolster some of those reasons that we would then use a Section 8. And we
Mhm.
saw this in Scotland when they changed from ASTs to PRTs. Yes, now there's no way to end a tenancy, but there are some mandatory rules that have been put in there that still make it far more workable, and actually from a tenant's perspective allows them to see it now as a long-term investment as a home. So I think for the industry, for private rented sector and long-term renting, it's got the potential to be great.
Mhm.
That being said, we still do need to keep a close eye on it and make sure there are no unintended consequences when this is actually implemented by government. The same with lifetime deposits. Yeah, if for our industry, they make it more mobile for people up and coming during the rental ladder to be able to change their tenures without having to find this upfront money, no agency is going to have a problem with that. The problem we've got is if that method makes it too bureaucratic, is seen
Mhm.
as too risky, or causes landlords to leave the market. That's our worry. Not
Mhm.
making tenants able to move easier with less of money outflow, because for an agent in stock and being able to people to go into bigger properties or to downsize when appropriate, that's all in our benefit to assist that within the market. I think our worry is that where people get involved, do they always look at the unintended consequences that could happen? And when we're at the moment in a huge stock shortage, we don't want anything being done that could further hinder that stock, or people saying whether they want to enter this buy-to-let market.
I'm with you, and I think that's a very good observation, Neil. I've got my third question is on collaboration. You talk lots about collaboration and bringing tenants, landlords, agents closer together. Do you think there's too much division to make this a reality?
No, but I do think that the first thing needs to start with us. You know, there is always an emotive response when it is a relationship that is actually somebody who demands something from another person. Doesn't matter whether it's our bank for our mortgage, the people that we go and buy things from, our car financing. We're in a relationship where there is a financial payoff. So there's always going to be some friction between landlords and tenants. It's agents that are to be that mediator. And, you know, I talk to lots of agents who say, particularly during the pandemic, they became social workers, counsellors, marriage guidance, all kinds of things. But actually, that people-person interaction, that is where we can have our strength, where people can actually see us as that mediator. That being said, I still think there are things that the rental reform and, you know, it's on the back burner, but when it is reintroduced ROPA, that actually there needs to be more of a barrier to actually have professional operators within our agency field, because I can't, somebody cannot become an agent tomorrow with no experience and us expect them to be the expert mediator for property actions. So we need to find that balance, and again, that needs to be done correctly. The worry is that then that comes in and that causes people to leave. We want this to raise the industry, not to be seen to be something that's being done to us to our detriment. And I think that uncertainty is where most people's worry comes from at the moment.
I think you know, raising the industry is a very valid thing, and I do believe, like with the collaboration, it has to start with someone, and I do think that us is the right place to start with. You know, I do agree with that.
And let's be honest, there are some agents out there who are already doing this absolutely brilliantly.
Yeah.
You know, who are actually not allowing staff to talk in a derogatory manner about tenants or landlords, because that's their customer base, that are always putting the phone down and saying, has that person benefited from interacting with us? And it's that kind of perception that I think will help build that division. I don't think we're ever going to have it where landlords and tenants are going to sit in a room and they're going to sing each other's praises, because of the nature of that relationship. But what we can do is get it where landlords and agents are in a room and they're singing each other's praises, and agents and tenants are sat in a room and singing each other's praises. And that's what we ought to get to, where then as agents, we're that bridge, we're the key pin of that relationship.
No, I like that, Neil. And I've got a bonus question, which wasn't in the title. It's about the future. So, what is your biggest prediction for lettings in 2022?
Well, I'm going to put this in 2 points, because my first one is actually my prediction for 2022 is for lettings. It's going to be a difficult year. So, but I don't want to always leave on a downside, but it is going to be a difficult year. I think we have a perfect storm with rising costs, rising inflation, and actually a low stock level, that actually we're going to end up with a difficult situation that will develop during 2022, where the demand to increase rents due to property demand will be met by people's affordability, and also will be then negotiated from landlords who also need to look at their affordability. So I think whenever we get this cost of living increase, it will add pressure, and that pressure unfortunately comes into the lettings industry. What I hope to see as my prediction for 2022 is actually the levelling up white paper, when it is released, will actually allow us to have more mobility in our sector. And I really want to see that this removal of Section 22 and the lifetime deposits, what I'm hoping is it's going to allow us to have more mobility. So people are, since the pandemic, staying in properties longer. which is actually it's okay. People think, okay, that's longer tenure, but actually for us as an industry, it also ties up stock. That non-moving, it has a knock-on effect further down the market, which also affects then people's ability to then buy. We need this mobility within our industry, which actually it keeps us churning. And actually, that's my prediction. I think where everybody's worried about this rental reform paper, I think what it's actually going to do, if done properly, will give us a mechanism to get that mobility back.
Good prediction, Neil. And I think we should end on the future, because that's always a
Yeah,
good note. And thank you very much for coming on the show, Neil. I really
always a
appreciate it.
pleasure.
And thanks for your views.
No problem at all, Lee. Thank you.